There is a significant gap between the official and the parallel market rates of the NAIRA. So what is causing it? And when will it end? Will a devaluation end it or make it worse? To continue with our discussion on these and other issues concerning the NAIRA exchange rate, we have Professor Ode Ojowu, Pro-Chancellor of Benue State University and former Chief Economic Advisor to the President. Please join me as we continue our discussion with Professor Ojowu. Do you see evidence that institutions are being built now? Let's say with the change agenda of this new administration, do you see an emphasis on building institutions as a way of preventing future problems?
First of all, institutions must be built on character. I believe that the federal government's crackdown on corruption is an attempt to deal with the impunity of the past. And that is one way of building an institution. And I hope that this war will be carried to its logical end to ensure that at the end of the day, rule-based behavior becomes the order of the day. Impunity has been the issue. And if we are fighting corruption, and we are now saying that we want a change, definitely it's going to be a change from personality to institution. Because we have been ruled by personalities in the past. And I believe that this administration wanting change, the details of that change have not been properly defined, but I believe that if we are wanting change, which means we're not happy with the past, and the reason Nigerians voted out the former government was because accumulation of many years were not happy with the past. So the new change must certainly refer to the building of institutions. So I see the beginning of attempt to build the institution. My worry is how to make sure that it is sustained over time.
Now, we started talking about this just before we started the show. Policy and the marketplace. Is it possible, if you were to weigh the two, which one has an upper hand? Which one has superiority in determining economic outcomes in a nation like ours?
It's policy, because it is a policy that sets the framework for the marketplace, not the other way around. It's policy that gives direction to the market. It's policy that gives the rules of engagement to the market. So it's a policy that has the upper hand. It's a superior in the two because one causes the other. It's the policy that causes the existence of a functioning market.
Do we have functioning markets? Have we had functioning markets in order for policy to have an impact?
I think we don't have real functioning markets. I'll give you a very simple example. If you want to move goods, let's reduce a very low level for our audience to understand. If you want to carry goods from Kano to Lagos, you will be stopped at every produce point by men and young people with the only policy instrument is a wood loaded with nails to stop you. They don't have any other instrument.
That you made to laugh, but
that's the situation.
Yeah.
So they will stop you.
Yes.
And then at every point you have to pay something to them. Sometimes they issue with a receipt. You cannot tell whether that receipt functions or whether it is genuine or not. That is it. In other words, even physical commodity chain to move things around is frustrated. If you have your produce and you go to the market, a farmer who takes his produce to the market cannot on his or her own sell it. There are people waiting in the market who must take it from him or from her and sell it.
But that's part of the market.
That is distortion of the market that raises the transaction costs.
Market operators in their own
They are
right.
market operators not regulated. There's so much interference in the marketplace, unregulated. That's one. Two, there are no standards. We don't have a standard measure of any local produce. We have mudu, and if you talk of mudu, there are as many varieties of mudus as there are markets. So you don't have a market, and you don't have local brands of commodities.
But what about real estate market? What about the real estate market? That's not functioning well. What about the stores, where people go and buy things?
That is where we have problem, because if you go to the stores, all the branded products, 90% of the branded products, 90% of the products that are weighed and packaged are imported. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
So the portion of the market that you can say is functioning is importation.
Yes.
Local produce does not have the same attention.
I think you're right. Let's go back, as we try to, wind down here somehow. Let's go back to the exchange rate issue, which is one of the real things I wanted to discuss today. I personally think that the central bank is doing a good enough job. I think that they're working as hard as they can in the midst of issues and problems. And the issues are issues related to corruption, probably prior corruption, where you have, for example, maybe people that have stashed away large amounts of Naira and are looking to bring the Naira into dollars as a way for safekeeping, as a way of either to take it outside the country or to keep it safe because they think that the Naira will devalue in their mind. Or we have people who have dollars that they somehow got and they stashed them away, and they're looking to get a higher exchange rate, a weaker Naira, so as to bring the dollars and then buy real estate or something. So until you sanitize it, I think you alluded to that when you were talking about dealing with structural issues before any kind of devaluation. Now, these people that I just mentioned, are they the speculators that people talk about? They say speculators are coming. Sometimes they say they are coming from overseas. Well, are these? Who are these speculators?
Well, I don't know who they are, but I think that they are largely informal. Otherwise, the government should know who they are. And if you are speculating, you should be registered, so that your activity is also taxable. Where you make money from what the Greeks call climatistic, the art of making money out of money, is also very profitable at this time of crisis.
Sure.
And government should be the one benefit from the taxation that comes out of it.
Now, Professor, if you look at our reserves, when I checked it, it gives us about somewhere near 6 months of imports. That's not bad. When I was teaching school, when I was teaching international economics, in those days, we said if you had a fixed exchange rate situation and you had 3 months of imports covered with the exchange rate, that you were okay. Why are we panicking if we have up to 6 months of imports that can be covered by our reserves? What's the reason for the panic?
Well, I think the main reason for the panic is that even if you have 1 year cover,
yes,
and it is no longer flowing in, then you know it will finish.
So
and when it finishes, you are afraid.
Yeah.
If the money when it was flowing in, nobody worried, nobody feared. But the cessation, which is so sudden, is the reason for the fear, not the volume.
So we should be afraid.
And as it is
the way
now,
you say it now, should we be afraid?
We should be concerned. Yeah, we should
afraid
be concerned.
or concerned? Which one should we
not
be?
Fear. We should be concerned because we have capacity to overcome. So we don't need to.
Can we overcome in 6 months?
Now we can start the process of overcoming, but I don't think. Let me tell you, this crisis we are in, we are going to go through punishment literally, and we must be prepared to go through this suffering. So that at the end of it, we must have a new character in us. If we go on with this same character of dependence on other people for our toothpick, for our shirts, for our shoes, for everything, then we are not likely to get out of this crisis.
Are we diversified? Now we say that we're diversified. Last I checked, there used to be that agriculture as a percent of GDP was like 42. Now it's about 22%. Services about 50% or so of GDP. Isn't that diversification?
No, it's not.
That's not.
No, it's not.
Okay, what is that?
You see, if you add up all the primary sources of the GDP, agriculture is primary.
Yeah.
Crude oil is primary. By the time you add them together, they constitute more than 40% of GDP. The services sector, which is about 50 or 52, is driven by imports.
Okay. So let's then conclude finally now with the initial topic, the exchange rate situation. I personally don't think that the government should be stampeded, or that is the central bank in this case. I don't think that they should be stampeded into any quick devaluation until, as you've said, they have corrected some of the structural issues that are out there. But say they were to then come to some decision to devalue or to bring about a depreciation or to create some sort of a band. Where should they move it to from the 197, 198? They call it 200. Where should we move it to? If you move it to like 220, 225, 250,
first of all,
should there be a ban or what should happen?
First of all, let's say that the decision not to devalue has a cost. But the devaluation will involve more immediate cost than the decision not to devalue. It's not some kind of ideology. It's not that it's the best of situations. And you cannot sustain it for too long if you don't do something immediately to ensure that there's some movement anyway. And that movement has to do with creating a band. Now, I cannot suggest what the figure should be. Ordinarily, we should have a model for the economy to enable us show the band, 5 plus 5%, minus 5% band. But if the Nigerian, if the central bank has a monetary model, some kind of model for the economy, they should use it to determine the band. And they should also monitor very strictly the activities of the speculators to know exactly what they are doing, the magnitude of the activities, the size of their market, and all of that will combine to give a weighting factor to what would have become the how far they can go or not go. But it's not something that you can just suggest offhand. It's something to be more scientific than simply to suggest something. But I think that it's now time for them to create a band to allow some movement in the exchange rate.
No, it is time, but we should give them time.
We should give them time to create a band.
Okay.
In the meanwhile, now that the monetary policy has taken a decision, there must be a complementary fiscal policy.
Absolutely.
Immediately.
Absolutely.
As I said, central bank does not generate foreign exchange. It only keeps.
Yes.
It has listed some items not suitable for foreign exchange for now. But it is the policy of the fiscal responsibility and is the responsibility of the fiscal arm to re-examine those things and see what the necessary incentives are that they need to create in order to begin to domesticate some of these items locally. That's what we need to do. There must be action immediately. It's 8 months now. I don't think there's any action yet.
Well, Professor, I want to thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You're wonderful.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry.